Hello and welcome to the McCord List Today. I'm Rachel McCord, your talk show bestie, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. You guys, if you have never been here before, then you probably don't know that the McCord List Today is all about helping you have life and have it to the full. We talk all things family, fitness, faith, being a founder, and pretty much everything in between. I love what I do. I love sharing these stories, and today's episode is no exception. You see, I have a little added piece of swag on my desk today. We have Patricia Cara. She's amazing. She wrote this amazing book called Dream On, Now Deliver. And the concept is that we live with these big dreams in our hearts, but it's all about moving into doing, into action to make it really happen. She has been on Howie Mandel's very popular show, Deal or No Deal. She's an actress, and she's absolutely a beautiful soul who has over 30 years experience in this industry. She dedicates this book to her mother, whose life, heart, and work ethic is what inspires her every day. I love her. I love this conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. We also have Myra Diaz Gomez. She is a pro wrestling personality. She is an author. She's written multiple books, and she's also done an incredible job as a model. She's beautiful. She's so sweet. She talks today about a beautiful, up and down, heartbreaking, and yet absolutely inspiring conversation of how she has walked away from a difficult life and depression to dreaming to do what she wants to do, and how she's lived with sobriety, and how she focuses on staying plugged into your recovery no matter what. It's very inspiring, and it's a great conversation. And then, of course, I have Kent Speakman. You guys know he is an amazing philanthropist who is an entrepreneur and producer. He does it all, and today he's talking about the advice that he holds true to in this busy town of Hollywood and entertainment, and how to really live the life of your dreams no matter what. You guys, this episode's amazing. It's inspiring. It's fun, and I'm really happy you're here. I'm Rachel McCord on the McCord List Today. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Patricia will be up in the studio. And we're back with the McCord List Today. I'm Rachel McCord, sitting down with the amazing actress, model, and literal author, superstar, Patricia Cara. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so glad you're here. This is so much fun. We were match made by one of my other guests and one of my good friends, Lisa Stewart.
Love her, love her, love her, love her.
She's
And I'm happy to be
amazing.
here with you.
I know, there must be something in the water. You guys are all making books, and I cannot wait. So this is incredible. You have been in the business for 30 years as an actress. You were also on Deal or No Deal, which is kind of amazing. So let's talk a little bit about your Howie Mandel experiences.
It's been great. I mean, it's actually the 20-year anniversary this year. So I've been on 3 different versions of Deal or No Deal. Howie's been great. He's just always on at all times. It's great working with him. It's always a fun time on set. Anytime you're around Howie, you're good. And the girls were amazing too. All the ladies that I worked with, the cast members, everybody behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. So it was all good.
That's incredible. And you've been in the industry for over 30 years.
Long time.
Crushing the game. How have you kept your passion alive all this time?
Every day is a different day in the entertainment business. So I feel like it's just exciting for me. It's not a 9 to 5 in any way. So it's always exciting. I never know what's going to be next. You create your own stuff now too. The entertainment business has changed. So it's great that we all get to create. I mean, look at you. You're here doing your thing, and I love that you're doing this.
Thank you so much. And I love that you've written this book. So you've really taken so much wisdom from so many things in the industry. And now you're helping other people, actors, people in the industry, be able to dream on it and then deliver. So what would you say is the big difference between dreaming and doing?
You have to take action. A lot of people do have these big dreams and think it's going to, their phone's going to ring and everything's going to come to them. But you have to really have a little bit of a hustle and be a go-getter and be disciplined and keep going. You have to keep moving forward, and you're going to get a lot of no's along the way, but eventually you're going to get the yes if you persist and have that dedication and determination. So I'm a big believer in you can make anything happen. Anything is possible, and I worked really hard for it, and now I'm passing on everything I learned along the way. I was 15 when I started, and I only had the yellow pages, which a lot of people don't know what that is, but I wish I had a book like this helping me every step of the way. So I'm hopeful that it helps the future generation of navigating the business.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What do you think are the most important 3 topics that you cover in the book, and how can they make an impact for the audience?
My big 3 things is rejection. You've got to be able to handle rejection. You're going to get a lot of it, but you can't take it personally. Sometimes casting has nothing to do with you. It's just you're not right for that specific thing. And sometimes it'll show itself somewhere down the line. You might be right for something else. So rejection is key. And then trusting your instincts. I always talk about trusting your instincts no matter what. And you can apply this to your, everyday life, but your business life as well. And building momentum. Once you start going, and you start getting those jobs, one thing leads to the next, and you build that momentum, and you're on fire, and you're working hard, and you're enjoying the process. That's key too. You have to enjoy the process. So instincts, dealing with rejection, and momentum. 3 key things to remember.
I love that. One of my favorite pieces of advice that I like to hold on to and then help others with is it's easier to steer a ship when it's already moving. And I think you're touching to that with the momentum, because it's so important, I think, to be able to see a pathway and to be able to keep pushing towards it. And don't be afraid, like you said, with the rejection, because I think that's part of it too. If you get moving and you're doing what you dream of doing, but then people push back and maybe they don't see it the way that you wanted them to. And it can feel like, oh no, I failed. I think there's that balance between don't think you failed or you're a like you can fail and not be a failure, and it's okay to get back up.
Agreed. And you really, the process, it's an interesting process, but you build that muscle over time that you don't take it so personally along the way. So I love that you said that. That's perfect segue for everything I just said. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And how have you held on in this season of your career to feeling like a purpose that's bigger than you?
What do you mean?
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, imagine how you've moved from being on camera and from doing all of these amazing things to also now helping people find their path. Like, is it connected to your purpose? Do you feel like it was just something that needed to be shared?
It's interesting. I feel like it was always there. Like, as I was going along in the business, I realized other people needed help, wanted help, and not everybody in the entertainment business is helpful. But for me, it became a natural thing. It was innate. It was a natural thing for me. So I felt like at some point, I mean, every day I would pass on information, but I felt like it was inevitable for me to do this book because I did it every day regardless. I would help my friends or friends of friends. I would get people ask me, like, how do you start? Where do you go? It's an intimidating thing. So just over the years, I realized this was a calling where I had to do this book. And I'm not much of a writer. I never thought I'd be the one writing. I love camera. I love speaking, but writing is a different animal, and now I've got the bug, and I'm working on my 2nd book, and eventually maybe a 3rd book. So, yeah, so it's been interesting, but it definitely, I think, was part of my purpose to do this without even realizing it. But eventually, I caught up with that purpose, and I'm here doing it, and I'm loving it.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
with that, how did you stay motivated to be able to finish your book? Because that is remarkable. I think a lot of people dream of writing a book, but the hard work of just pushing through can sometimes hold you back.
Yeah, it is a lot of hard work. I was actually taking care of my mom while I was writing the book. I had written over the years like notes here and there, but I was taking care of my mom, and I think she had a really rough life beginning to end. And I think about her strength. She came from Greece. She didn't know the language. She had kids. She was abandoned, abused by her husband, my father. So all those things, I look at that, nothing is that hard. She had it hard. So I always thought about that. Like, I can't complain about anything. I've never had it that hard. Sure, I've gone through hard times, but seeing her and what she went through, really, it gave me that strength I needed. So I kept pushing forward with everything, and her work ethic and everything about her. So I dedicated the book to my mom, and I got it done right before she passed away. So yeah, it's meant a lot to me. I feel like while I was taking care of her, I would work on my book, and it just, yeah, my mom has everything to do with this book. So I'm thankful to her for that.
What a blessing.
Yeah,
I think
very
it
much
really
so.
is such a journey of like having this this story in your heart and identifying what it is and what is the message that only you can share in the world, and how can you do it, and how can it make an impact for the people around you, because it's so important to be able to do that. I know you're helping a lot of people starting out in their career. Also, it's very helpful for people even middle into their career to keep that momentum going. What are some things you wish you had known at the start of your career?
So much. I wish at the younger age, I did believe in myself more and think it's all going to be okay. You know, when you're young and you just have no idea. So maybe that's it, you know, just you learn along the way. It's you fall, you fail, you pick yourself up and keep going. So I'm thankful for those moments. You realize they were all teachable moments. It's never really a failure. Those things are teaching you something to be who you are and become who you are and do what you do. So I'm thankful for everything along the way. It was never as bad as you think it is, right?
And I think that's great advice too, as you're going through it, to know that it will kind of fuel you in what you're doing. Does your mom's voice kind of ring in your mind, her work ethic and what she does?
Always. She was such a hard worker. It was amazing, and I didn't understand a lot when, you know, growing up and watching her do the things she did and telling me what to do. But now I am so thankful for everything she taught me. I realize I hear her words, and I realize that now I'm repeating those same things that she said. I'm repeating them to a lot of my friends and their kids, my nieces and nephews, and everybody that'll listen, really. But yeah, she always had great advice, and even just watching her, I learned a lot just from watching her. Not even the words she had to say, it was just seeing her do. She was always a doer, a go-getter. So she was amazing, very amazing.
I feel that very much with this message. I love it because I think there's really that line where, you know, believe in yourself and dream, but then it really is like, well, what do you do next? Like, how do you move into that? And it seems like if you remove the fear of rejection, that helps you get unstuck, because I think that holds a lot of people back. Do you think there are other things that hold people back from just getting moving?
I feel like we always get stuck in our heads, and I mean, we judge ourselves so harshly.
Oh my gosh.
And then we think
Literally.
everybody else is judging us too. So we think about that and, you know, worry about what are they going to say? What are they going to do? Who am I to be doing what I'm doing? You need to just let that go. Let the naysayers just ignore that. And even when you start thinking too much, you need to just act. I think taking action is the best way to go, because once you start taking even baby steps, those baby steps become bigger steps, and all of a sudden you have this full-on career or doing whatever you dreamt of doing. So I actually have a poem in here that helped me quite a bit. It's called Don't Quit. It is a great poem. I recommend for everybody to read it. It's look it up. Edgar G. Guest, I believe, is the author's name, and it was just really inspiring. I was in my 20s in New York figuring things out, and I read that poem every day till this day. And I'm in my 50s now, and I still read it every day just for inspiration, just to keep going, because sometimes we do get down on ourselves, and we just need a little inspiration, and it helps you to keep going.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Patricia.
you.
You guys grab this book at home. Dream on, now deliver. Whatever you're doing, whether you're in entertainment or not, I think this is really encouraging.
It applies to a lot.
Pushing through.
Yes.
Okay, you guys.
you.
Yes, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. You guys don't go anywhere. When we come back, Myra Diaz is talking about what life is like behind the pro wrestling world. She's done interviews, she's been a model, and she has done it all. We're going to talk to her next about her career. Don't go anywhere on the McCord List today. I'm Rachel McCord. And we're back with the McCord List today. I'm Rachel McCord. Our next guest, Myra Diaz Gomez, is Brazilian-born, LA-based, author, wrestling personality, model. You have literally done it all. Journalism.
Yeah, I've done a few things.
What
It's
a
such
fun
a pleasure
career.
to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. So how long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA since I was 21 years old.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I moved out of Brazil as soon as I was able to. I had the dream to move to Hollywood and become a music journalist, and I did it as soon as I could.
And you were found by the headliner for Smashing Pumpkins. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's further into my story. But a few years after working as a music journalist in LA, I decided during a period of depression that I wanted to become a professional wrestler. And I was simply watching women's wrestling in the WWE, and I became super inspired by the women. And I thought, if I could be as powerful, as strong as these women are, then I think that I would be happy. And I literally searched for how do you become a professional wrestler, found out you have to go to wrestling school, moved to Las Vegas, and started working at a wrestling school in Las Vegas. So shortly, about 6 months later, Billy Corgan, who's the front man of the Smashing Pumpkins, found out that I was training wrestling, and asked me to come work for the National Wrestling Alliance, which is his wrestling company that he owns.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And how interesting that even in the depths of depression, you still had a vision for your life. Of course,
Yeah.
it's hard when you're dealing with depression and feeling like, oh, if I can just have this, I'll be
Yeah.
happy. We try to like fill it from the outside. But
Yeah.
can you speak a little bit to how you've had your journey with mental health? I know you've been very
Absolutely.
open about your sobriety.
Yeah, I think in these moments of depression or rock bottom, I'm sober now for 4 years and a half, but I've struggled in the past with alcohol abuse and depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And I think in those moments where I really hit rock bottom were the moments where I found the most hope. And I had these crazy ideas. Like when I was younger, when I was 16 years old, I decided I was going to become a best-selling author, and I wrote my first book when I was 16 years old and became a best-selling author. And then later in life, in my 30s, decided I'm going to work in professional wrestling, went to wrestling school, and ended up working for a professional wrestling company. So I think those moments, they were both moments of desperation, but also like inspiring moments in my life.
What do you feel like is a big piece of that? So you're hitting rock bottom and you're having these like revelations that just make sense for you. Like, do you think that there's anything bigger going on in your world? Is it a spiritual thing, or
Yeah,
what do you think?
I
for
am
yourself?
very spiritually connected, and I try to manifest a lot. You know, I do believe in a higher power. I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe there's something bigger than myself. So, yeah, I've always had faith that if I wanted to accomplish something and I put my mind to it and I took action towards it, that I could do it. So that happened with writing books, or writing for like some of my favorite magazines, or working in professional wrestling. Somehow it always works out.
Wow. How have you stayed rooted in your identity? Your career has really spanned so many different spaces. I mean, you've done so much, being a best-selling author, so young, obviously being a wrestling personality, you're behind the scenes interviewing some of the biggest stars. Like, how have you stayed rooted in who you are?
I'm just true to myself. I think I'm a multi-dimensional person, and I have lots of interests. You know, I have different phases in my life where I become interested in different things, but at the root of it, I'm still the same person. I've never changed throughout anything that I went through, I feel like.
Wow, that's powerful. And I think it's really beautiful that you talk about your sobriety, because I think there's a lot of people watching who might feel stuck in a cycle right now in their lives. Maybe it's not exactly the same as you, maybe it is. But for many of us, I think we come through those seasons of life. Maybe we're hitting rock bottom and we're trying to find our pathway out.
Yeah.
What would you recommend as the first step to getting out of a cycle that doesn't work for you anymore?
I think that, you know, trauma doesn't choose people, but healing doesn't either. You know, everybody is capable of it. And I think if I'm able to do it, then anybody's able to do it. I think it's just a matter of starting. And it doesn't mean that your life is going to overnight become better, or that it's magically going to work. But it means that you're able to strip down the noise and get to the underneath of the problems that caused you to either use substances or cause you to hit these rock bottoms. And I think just start, you know, look for support, be honest, and it's possible. It's possible to do it.
That's beautiful. One of my favorite sayings is that trauma is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And I've personally faced a lot of the similar things: depression, anxiety, ideations. And I think along the journey of life, it's important that we find a space within ourselves to create space for peace. And I think that that's really like what we're all going after, is finding that. And I know in your book you talk a lot about emotional surviving, like how do you survive emotionally? So what would you say has been kind of the leading driver for you as you've, continued to grow in your career? I'm sure that the stakes are higher always.
Yeah, I think that being rooted in your recovery is very important. When I started being public about my sobriety story, I thought it was a black and white story where I got sober and I stopped having panic attacks and I stopped being depressed. And it seemed like I had hit a happy ending in the first years. But then later on, more recently, I continued to struggle with some of these problems with anxiety, with depression, and I realized that there is no happy ending and it's continuous work. So it just gives you the opportunity to face your life. And if you face your life, you can change your life.
Wow. So in the world that we live in of filters and perfectionism and often feeling like maybe we don't measure up, what would you say is your key to staying rooted in confidence with the different industries that you step into?
I'm not confident every day. I deal with the same insecurities that I think a lot of us do. I find myself scrolling on Instagram and comparing myself to other people's lives. And I think that's a real problem in today's world. We're looking at other people's lives that are polished, that are edited, that are meant to cause us to feel that way. And we feel like we're not enough. And I think we have to remind ourselves that, like, yes, we are enough and we are different than other people, Yeah.
Is there anything that you want more for in your life?
That I want? Yeah, I actually just finished working on a book with a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, Mike Diamond. He's a very well-known interventionist. He's known from the show Intervention. And also coming from a period of depression, we got together and started writing this book, which is basically weekly lessons structured around building resilience and staying grounded and just finding your own strength. And I have this book coming out this year through Amazon. And I would love to continue writing and publish more novels and, venture into that world again now that I've done so many other things that I wanted to do, like I want to go back to my writing roots.
That's incredible. Speaking of roots, we do have to talk a little bit about what it's been like as a wrestling personality. Obviously, you became very well known for what you've done in that space. Can you talk about what the process is like? Like, what is it like working in that industry?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You have the most larger than life characters. My job specifically, I worked for 5 years as the backstage interviewer for the NWA. So my job really was to push forward those storylines with the different characters, which was an amazing experience, dealing with all these storylines, dealing with all these characters and learning to improv and to fall into the storyline and help push the storyline to the public. So it was a great experience and it taught me a lot about so many different things. I mean, wrestling taught me a world of things. Yeah.
That's amazing. Have you had some favorites as far as personalities go that you just love and stand out and maybe you're still friends with today?
Oh, I'm friends with everybody. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I made so many friends in professional wrestling. I think professional wrestling has some of the most amazing people. I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to work in this industry, especially coming into it as an outsider.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to check out this book that's
Thank
coming
you.
up. That's going to be amazing. So
Thank
we'll be
you.
watching for it on Amazon. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is amazing. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere on the McCord List today. I'm Rachel McCord. Coming up next, one of my good friends, Kent Speakman. He is a multifaceted person. He has done it all from production to development. He is the founder of Connect TV, and he's going to connect with us next to talk about his award-winning career and what we can learn from him. So don't go anywhere on the McCord List today. We'll be right back. And we're back with the McCord List today. I'm Rachel McCord, sitting down with a good friend, Kent Speakman. He is a multifaceted personality. He's an entrepreneur, producer, and of course, a philanthropist. Hi.
Hey, Rachel, good to see you.
It's good
Thanks
to
for having
see
me.
you. You make being good really cool. Like you are doing all the things. Talk about like doing good in the world. So beautiful. So let's just jump right in. You have built so many successful things in entertainment, tech, production. Can you talk about to the people maybe feeling like they need to do one lane, like, oh, I can only do one thing? What would you say as encouragement to them to maybe doing more than just one thing and being successful at it?
Well, I think it's you've got your passion, and it's what you go to bed thinking about before you go to sleep, and what you wake up in the morning. And if that's not what you're doing every day, then take a little step towards doing that each day. So I think as you find your passions and you work on them, and it's the late nights, it's the early mornings, it's the time in between, it's the lunch meetings when you're at your other job, if you're not completely satisfied in it, that gets you moving forward towards that next goal.
That's a great tip. So talking about that, what are those little steps? Because I think a lot of people, they know what they want to do, or at least like in the world that they want to be in. But then it's like, what do I even do? How do I get here? So of course, you're coming from a background in production as a producer, looking at the big picture and making things happen, also in the tech space. So what would you say are some of the steps that you would take if you're in those industries?
Yeah, well, I think for a lot of industries and people in LA, everybody's got dreams and they say that they're doing things, but until there's like the rubber hits the road and you've actually started to create something, it's just an idea. So it's setting up that website, it's getting the business cards, it's working on building out a presence for whatever that is. If it's a movie pitch or a website for your production company or an idea, you have to have something there that people can believe in. Otherwise, you're just another person with a lot of hot air. So yeah, that would be probably the biggest advice, was just take the little steps, start doing things, get the website, get the business cards, set things up so that when people are searching for what you're actually saying you're doing, that there's some evidence of it, and then you can build on that.
I love that advice. And I also think that that's kind of like the interesting space where if you think about developing business, what it's really down to is sales. Like, can you drive sales to your job, to your business, to fuel your business model? Because if you can't do that, what are you doing here? So I like that you got really practical about the branding pieces of how to sell yourself or your service or your product, because I think that is the big piece of it. And then with that, I think that kind of lends itself to the next step. For example, I know I've built many a website and you get right into it. And the first thing you start thinking is, well, what is my key messaging? How do I convey this story? How do I convey this message with the world? And then as you're doing that, you kind of start to narrow other things down. So what would you say as you've built these different industries and this work, like as you've built out systems to scale, have you focused more on sales? Have you focused more on the operations, or is it a combination?
Yeah, as a solo entrepreneur, it's been all of the above. So from the very beginning was setting up the branding and everything, and back to that point, I think today's world has gotten a lot easier with ChatGPT. You can go out and figure out what are the key competitors in the marketplace, pump that all in and say, create a compelling message for my brand using these as the examples and setting us apart with these differentiators, and it'll build all of your marketing material out for you fairly straightforward and well. And then you can do the same thing for branding and looking at color schemes and everything else, as well as the different markets that you're going to go into and how you're going to approach them. And those were things that didn't exist 10 years ago when I started Connect, which was the last company that I started. So
that's incredible. And I love that you touched on AI, because I think it is a great tool to utilize. It's a little scary for many people, myself included. But I think at the same time, it can be very effective and helpful. So are there some AI tools or systems that you've put into place to be more scalable with what you've done with Connect?
Well, we've been using Opus Clip would be the only one that I would actually so far recommend. I've, trying to stay on top of everything that's out there. Opus is good for creating a lot of the social clips. We do a lot of like long form content that needs to be cut down into little snackable bites for social. So Opus is really the only one that I would recommend, other than like ChatGPT for putting together, formulating like a script or key messaging and things like that for you. And because I played around with all the, as you said, scary for people in the industry, all of the ones that come on and create like a profile and an avatar that speaks on your behalf, or you try to plug in some messaging and it's not there yet. The annotation on delivering messages can be just totally off, and it's, how tone is with a text message. Imagine tone being completely off where you're saying something uplifting and then avatar's got a sad face or the downtone on it, and it's just not there yet. So
I've noticed that with quite a few things with AI. I'm like, oh, this is going to work. And I'm like, wait, this is not working at all. So it is interesting to see that develop. But we can kind of see what the vision is by noticing all of the platforms that are popping up. Now you spoke about Connect. So let's talk a little bit about what your vision was when you created Connect.
Yeah, so Connect, we started 10 years ago this summer, and the whole mission was to believe Connect changed the world. So bringing positive messages into mainstream media, and that's over the years has grown. We started off doing a lot of mindfulness content, and then moved into award shows, and kind of tied those other elements of that uplifting and inspiring into the messaging and the things that we're talking about on the red carpets, or the documentaries that we're working on, or other content that is becoming a part of Connect. We're this year expanding out into more areas, but it's back to those conversations around what's going on within these different industries. If it's sports, even, it's let's talk about the path to success. A lot like you do with your show. It's how do we uplift and inspire people, and that's we all have great shoes and things to talk about, but that can go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, and I do think it's so important because I think this life could be overwhelming at times and discouraging, and we're all trying to be our best. Like, I feel like we all put everything in. Every morning we wake up, and maybe you feel like your best isn't as great as someone else's, or maybe they feel like that about you. But at the end of the day, it's I think we're all trying to do the best with what we have. And so I look at our opportunities to use our voice to do good into the world is so important. And I love that you've done that with Connect. I think it's really beautiful to see the like-minded individuals who come together for that. And I think there is such an opportunity to help so many people by doing that. So in your experience, you've obviously made it cool to care, which I think is very sweet. But would you say that for someone at home who wants to maybe use their platform for good, but maybe they don't have a huge platform, what are some small practical things that can be done to help make a difference in the community? Well,
I think it's just for everybody. It's just making that your mindset to be helpful and bring value to everybody, because nobody wants to work with somebody who's just coming to take, right? It's what can I do to help this person out in every interaction, and that could be the smallest things, from the person at the Trader Joe's checkout line to people in a business setting. And so when you figure out and Keith Ferrazzi talks a lot about this in his books, who's been a friend and mentor to me, and it's what can I do to lead with authenticity, and then with a giving without the expectation of reciprocity. Am I saying that right? Reciprocity?
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's a big thing, is you go out and just keep doing good and do good for others, and it'll come back to you. And it might not be from the people you think. Sometimes it'll come from other places, but if you keep that as your mindset and make that part of your core values, it doesn't matter if you're the guy who's starting off washing dishes, which is what I started my career doing back in Canada years ago. It's just continue to be kind to people, and it'll help you grow, and you'll get to achieve your goals if you just continue on that path.
I love that. So you started in the restaurant industry?
I did, yeah.
Where?
Joey, there's one downtown LA.
Joey?
Yeah.
That's so weird. I worked for a Joey in a pizza place. That's hilarious. I came home smelling like garlic every day.
Yeah, I started washing dishes when I was in high school, and then became the head night chef by the time I was 18, and then was on the development team for the company, for the culinary development team, and that was my start to having a job, I guess.
That's special. I think there's always these beautiful stories of how someone starts and how they get all connected. And I think you've done an amazing job, especially in LA, of really kind of knowing everybody. I feel like I talk to everybody all the time, and I'm like, do you know Kent Speak? And I'm like, yeah, that was literally what I was going to say. So how have you, with your career and your life, made a big point of kind of having that humility? Because I feel like talking to you today and hearing how you started, it's makes perfect sense that this person who's so humble now, even after all this time and all these awards and all this success, you still have such a sweet perspective, and I think kindness about you to helping people.
Yeah, well, I think we're all here just trying to get ahead and do our best, and if you take care of the people that are also being genuine, that it'll come back around. And there's snakes in the grass everywhere, but you just have to watch out for them, and realize when you meet one that they can continue on their path, and you don't have to let that negativity attach to you. So
Is that your process? You just kind of push it to the side?
I just let it go because it's like it's water off the back of a duck or whatever that saying is. I might have just made that up.
I love that. Yeah, I'm sure water does roll off the back of a duck. Like if you really
they have
think
oily feathers, and that's why.
Oh, they're oil. Okay. Wow, I'm learning so many things.
I used to tie flies for like fly fishing. So
No
you
way.
learn about these things when you're doing that,
Okay.
which is another fun fact.
That's amazing. Okay, we'll be right back. I don't want you to go anywhere because when we come back, I want to hear Kent's top 3 tips on how to really build a career that you love. So don't go anywhere on the McCord list today. I'm Rachel McCord. We'll be right back with Kent Speakman. And we're back with the McCord list today. I'm Rachel McCord, sitting down with Kent Speakman. He's a producer, he is an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. Thank you for being here. I love chatting with you because I think that we get to hang out in normal life and just have so much fun. But then sitting down and hearing your story, it's so compelling. And of course, your advice is so powerful. So let's jump right into what would be the top 3 things you would say to somebody maybe at the beginning or middle of their career trying to create something successful for themselves.
Make sure you absolutely love it and want to do it. And if you don't, then find something you do. And then just focus on taking those little steps to get towards doing that every day. And it's creating that time, the small time around your other career to get to that point where you're doing what you love. If you want to be a photographer or a floralist or whatever it is, just start taking the classes, doing the little things, and then that'll build out into something bigger and bigger for you. So it's find what you love, take the little steps every day to be doing more and more of that, and then just go at it 100%. And when you get the opportunity to take that leap of faith, there's when I moved to Los Angeles, Steve Robertson, I had worked on a project Peace on Earth, and he's passed away since during COVID. But he told me, I'll say it in the polite way, sometimes you just need to burn the bridge behind you so there's no chance of retreat, and put everything into what you're doing, and just really go for it. So I guess that would be 3 steps.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you do face a lot of stressful situations. You do a lot of live productions, so doing shows, events, and I know that there's probably a lot of pressure. I know one time we had talked after you did the Paris Hilton event, and you're like, I'm missing 6 minutes, and you found it from all these side cameras to be able to bridge that gap. And I think about, like, that would be so scary for filming a show, and it's live, and everyone's counting on you, and then somebody didn't hit record or stopped it and you lost those minutes, and then being able to just have that focus to get it done. One of my favorite pieces of advice is successful people are able to do what unsuccessful people won't do, and I think that's really the key. Sometimes I find myself, like the other night, like working at 12:45 into the morning, and I'm thinking, you know what, my son's about to wake up in a few hours, but successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are not. And I think that's really what it comes down to. What about for you? How do you push through the high pressure in your job?
Well, it's actually coming from, I was telling earlier that I was a chef and worked in the hospitality industry, and then got into running a lot of big nightclubs and music festivals and things like that. And I had a couple of my old partners that I worked with came down when we were doing the daytime Emmys, and they were working on the production with us, and they asked the same question, and I said, well, nobody's pulling a gun on anyone, nobody's gotten shot today, and nobody's going to get shot today, so it's going to be easier than other things that we've had to do in the past. So yeah, I guess it makes it easier when there's not an actual risk of life being involved in the work.
That's a good point. Yeah, at the end of the day, I would do that with magic. I'd be like creating like 40-page runs of shows with backgrounds and bios on all my guests on the shows and everything, and then I'd be like, but at the end of the day, this is fashion. So if somebody pops a button or forgets the line, everyone's gonna be okay. This is not my heart surgeon, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you need to do everything perfectly. I love that. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Kent. This was amazing and so inspiring to hear your story and also what you've done with it, because I know you moved to Hollywood with a big dream and a little bit of money in your account, and you really built something for yourself and for the community at large.
Thank you, Rachel, and yeah, it's great to be here, and lovely to see you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the McCord List today. I'm Rachel McCord, and I can't wait to see you next time.